Hey guys, what's up, the Mustang Spook Guy X back to Forza Horizon 3 with another challenge. Now, cars such as this Ferrari 488 GTB are S-Class or R-Class or higher, or S2, sorry, and can easily go over 210 miles an hour. This one can go 225, is what I've seen on it so far. However, there's another spectrum of this, and that is the D-Class cars. Now, they top out around 130. Some of them can't even reach 60 miles an hour in case you set a bubble car. And that got me thinking, could I build a car in D-Class to go 200 miles an hour? And that's gonna mean you need a lot of power, and that means you won't be able to put almost no handling parts on the car. So, can I build a car to go 200 miles an hour in D-Class and still be semi-controllable? Now the slowest vehicle of the day was the Toyota FJ. This is very top of D-Class. Doesn't have that much power. It has 480 something horsepower, weighs 3,100 pounds, and I converted it to rear wheel drive to give me some extra PI because I can throttle control it so I converted all these vehicles to rear wheel drive because the four wheel drive adds unnecessary weight and it adds unnecessary PI points so you can use for more power or better gearbox, stuff like that. And this vehicle is not very fast. I got it on my run that I was using off camera to be around 150 miles an hour, which is a decent starting point for a D-Class car. Because remember, this class of car is supposed to be the slowest of the slow. And you can see we're at 149. I'm probably going to get up to like 150. Yep, there's 151. Yeah, so it's not very fast. It does help with the downhill bit. The downhill bits do definitely help, especially getting up to 153 miles an hour. But yeah, you can see the piddly front tires. I didn't put any tire upgrades on. And I have no, and these are all running their standard tire compounds because if you put them in, they will shoot the car from D-Class to A-Class. They shoot the PI up massively. So you want that grip, but you can't afford it. Which is one of the challenges of building these cars. And yeah, the FJ just wasn't quite fast enough for the challenge. I consider that that sign to be the ending point for the run, basically, because you really can't go much faster after that. So yeah, 153 miles an hour is the starting point for this challenge, and they only got faster. Now it will likely end up being the older vehicles that are very low in PI to start with. But I didn't want to limit myself just to that. So I went with the Ford Transit Supervan. And it raised the bar a little bit. But we're still quite a long ways away from 200 miles an hour. Now this is the only modern car on our list. And we didn't have that much PI. I believe this only has 475 horsepower in it. And it's not exactly aerodynamic, being basically a barn. But you can see we're already going relatively faster than the FJ was at the time, because it was topping out at this down the downhill slope. My brain just said, "You shall not think of English words," so sorry about that. There's how fast it went. We're up to 155 now. and you'll see 160 fairly soon. Problem is, we shift. And it slows us down massively. Now, I did run this in manual in the challenge, I just might have forgot to. So there's 160. Yeah. I ended up getting to 163 down that hill with, revving at the limiter. Buzzing at the limiter, I should say. And transit, it's a little bit faster, but it's... Yeah, this is the only modern car on the list, and it just can't really keep up with the PI gap. And a little disappointing, because I'd like to see modern cars do a little bit better in speed runs, but 160 in D-Class is still not too bad. So, yeah. Also, the wheels are freaking out a little bit. Now, the Willys Jeep was the next fastest car, and I threw this in as a bit of a wild card. I wanted to see how a lighter vehicle would fare, because this it doesn't have it does not have the power of the Transit. Has roughly 450 horsepower in this Jeep. However, it weighs 1,000 pounds lighter. And sure, it's not very aerodynamic, but I was hoping that lightness and more agileness would be able to propel us a little bit faster. And indeed it did. With the help of the downhill section, we were able to reach 170 miles an hour with the little Jeep. So, yeah, you see we top out 164, then we begin to go downhill. 165, 166, 167. These downhill bits really do help going up to 168. We get stuck at 168 for a while, then we have another downhill bit. 169 and 170. So the Jeep, it probably would be you should probably have some glasses, some goggles for this, because your face is getting hit by 170 mile an hour winds. So I don't know how my guy is currently alive right now, but yeah. I was hoping it would go to 171 here, but it just runs out of gears, as you can see. And this was the first vehicle that actually had, like, to manage the throttle at the start because it had such tiny tires. I think it has 215s on it, but now, from now on, after this point, the cars will begin to get a lot more powerful and a lot more uncontrollable, as this challenge would suggest. Now, the next vehicle to go is the GMC Vandura. And as you might guess from the wheel spin, this is not a normal engine. This is a naturally aspirated 6.5 liter V12, producing almost 800 horsepower. And I got this vehicle to 177 miles an hour. So it's a little bit faster than the Jeep, and I think I know why. Although it has almost 400 horsepower more, 350 horsepower more, the problem is, well, as you can see, it's not really aerodynamic. And it weighs 2 tons. It weighs a full ton more than the Jeep did. And that just causes a lot of problems for the not so little Vandura. As you can see, we're going to 165 right now. I probably won't reach it on this run, just because I was looking at the vehicle to show you how boxy it was, and I had problems. But we are getting to 171, 172, and again with the downhill bits helps it get up to a little bit faster speeds, 175. That's where I hit 177 on my actual run. However, with this one, I might have had problems of not looking where I was going. So, yeah. So Vandura, it struggles. You can see 176, there we go, clicks over to 177, and then we basically are done with the speed run, because we can't go any faster. So 177 is the new benchmark. And this is one of the last controllable cars, because now all that's left is basically classic Fords, and, well, I'll let you see what those handle like. And next up is the Ford F100. And as you may guess, this vehicle is a little high-powered. This has 1,125 horsepower. It is an absolute bonkers machine. And we managed to get all of it in D-Class. It has 245s on the rear, and the stock tire compound, which means it's absolutely wiggly wobbly to drive. But you can see how fast we are. We're already faster than the GMC Vendura. We can surprisingly get up to max throttle. You can't put all of the power down. You can see we're at 189. We're wibbling, wobbling all over the place. This is a very dangerous car to drive. We're having massive problems with just going straight. But 197, 198. I managed to just get this vehicle at 200 miles an hour. It was bloody close, but I got to the mythical 200 mile an hour mark. 199, there we go, 200 miles an hour in D-Class. It took a lot of effort, but we just about got a car to 200 miles an hour in D-Class. Yeah. So it may be a completely, barely controllable vehicle, but it made it to the 200 mile an hour mark. Now, the second place car goes to the Ford Deluxe Coupe with 1,016 horsepower, 225s on the rear, and a bit better aerodynamics. This car got up to 208 miles an hour. So, it's not much faster, but it is faster than the Ford F100. And, yeah, I think it's only down to the aerodynamics, because it's not quite as powerful, and it doesn't have the same size tires, but it does go faster, and it's slightly easier to control. I say slightly. There's 200 miles an hour. We're not even going downhill yet. We're going uphill at 201, 202, 203, 204, 205, 206. And then we begin to run out of steam at 208, 209. We actually didn't reach 209 on my test. Sweet. 209 miles an hour. 209 miles an hour. From D-Class. Not even C-Class, D-Class. In C-Class, I was originally going to do this in C-Class. I got to 243 miles an hour in C-Class. And then I realized, couldn't I try and do this in D-Class and give myself a real challenge? And this was quite challenging. However, we are doing it. That was 209 miles an hour. And, yeah. Turns out Fords are very, very good at going incredibly fast with nothing but power. However, the winner and the fastest car of the day is the Ford Woody. This has 1,061 horsepower going to the rear wheels, and it is absolutely terrifying. It's also a little bit counterintuitive, because it's not exactly a compact and aerodynamic car. No, it's a giant truck that is very, very fast if you can keep it in a straight line. So, Yeah, I'm surprised. Greatly surprised that this was the fastest vehicle of the day that I tested. 210 miles an hour from the Woody. There's 200. And yeah, I thought this would honestly be a little bit more difficult, and somehow we have 3 vehicles each that went 200 miles an hour or more. I should have hit 210 there. There's 210. So we have surpassed the Ford Deluxe. I don't know. I don't fully understand why, but the Woody is the fastest car of the day, and yeah, I'm both amazed at that just because it's a Woody. It's a Woody with 1,000 horsepower, 245s, and that's it, basically, and a gearbox. We didn't even have enough PI to put the front wing on, and yet this has gone 210 miles an hour. So anyways, that's it for this episode of Forza Horizon 3. I'll be back with more.